What's going on, everybody? It is the one and only Q here from Retro Q Gaming, and well, here we are back with our 67th episode of our Quack experimental podcast. Now, thankfully, there's very little to talk about this week, and you may be wondering, why is that a good thing? Well, it's not going to be that short, but because one of these is going to require a lot of elaboration, a lot of detail, frankly, a lot of talking in circles as well. You'll see why, because that one's going to get its own time, and I'd hate to have to drag this out to like 2 hours long if we had a massive amount of topics and all to talk about. Well, we might as well get straight into it just to get there as quick as we can. So first off, we're going to talk about a once great, now neglected series, Splinter Cell. That's right, Splinter Cell. You might remember it. I believe it has six games, I want to say. 6 mainline games anyway, because there's the 3 on the OG Xbox, there's Double Agent, there is Conviction, and there is Whitelist, which I believe is all 6 mainline entry games, not including DS games and ports and other crap like that anyway. But, so, Splinter Cell. First 4 games, amazing. And ever since then, people have been clamoring for years and years and years for more quality Splinter Cell. None of this Conviction shit, none of this Blacklist shit. Is it Blacklist or Whitelist? Either way, I can't even remember the name of the game. That's how inconsequential it is to me. But many people have wanted proper, true Splinter Cell back. And now that Mike Ironside is back acting again, well, we're hoping we got something good. So, naturally, when fans all over the world in large numbers are clamoring for a new entry in a much-loved series, of course, what is the only logical thing to do? Make a fucking Netflix anime of it. That's right. Netflix have announced that they have ordered 16 episodes of a Splinter Cell anime. 2 seasons, 16 episodes. But at least it's going to have Mike Ironside. That's pretty much all I can say about it. Netflix has been pretty questionable and patchy, especially when it comes to their animated stuff. So, sure, I know what you're going to say. But Q, Castlevania. Yeah. What are they, 1 for 20? Says it all, doesn't it? You can understand why I'm not the most pleased about all of this. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, because next up we do have some interesting tech stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about AMD's upcoming Big Navi GPU. So, what do I mean by this anyway? Well, if you haven't been watching along and haven't been paying attention, AMD have their new architecture coming out, Navi 2, aka RDNA 2. Now, this new one is going to be potentially good and important as well. Typically, AMD cards are, well, for lack of a better term, they're shite, but the main reason for that is they don't have high-end cards. They don't have anything that can compete with Nvidia's top-end. Even usually sometimes not even their top 3 cards or their top 5 cards sometimes. So AMD are typically going for the entry-level budget, entry model stuff. Maybe even a couple of mid-range stuff, but nothing on the high-end. Now AMD have been saying in the meantime that will be changing with the likes of RDNA 2 and Navi 2. Same thing. But they have said that there will be high-end, enthusiast-grade cards, aka what they're calling Big Navi. Now, we have a little bit of info potentially about this Big Navi at the moment, and it's not too great, to be honest, because if this is all true, we'll get into the specifics now in a moment, but if this is all true, well, Big Navi is already dead in the water. So, one extra little bit of backstory, if you will. The upcoming consoles from Microsoft, the Xbox Series L, and the upcoming console from Sony with the PlayStation 5, both use AMD RDNA 2, aka Navi 2 based GPUs. So, with what they're promising with all of this, and what people are kind of putting 2 and 2 together and expecting to get 4 from, they're expecting that Navi 2 will be better than any previous AMD cards, which will be true, of course. That's not saying much. But typically, they would expect Big Navi to be even better. But here is where we have a problem. It looks like AMD are falling into their usual spot, which is AMD's new best card is about as powerful as the competition's previous series best card. Now, we'll get into that in a moment, but here we go. So this time, what we're seeing, at least anyway, from leaked benchmarks, and also, remember, do take this with a pinch of salt, but it looks like the Big Navi will be roughly around the RTX 2080 Ti performance. Give or take a couple of percent, maybe 10-15% here in AMD sponsored games. You have a couple of them out there that are already kind of performing a little bit better in AMD stuff. There's very, very few of these games and none of them are important. So that's kind of telling in that way. Now you may be thinking, but Q, the RTX 2080 Ti is the best GPU on the market today, which is correct. Remember, it's the best GPU on the market today. The Big Navi is going to be out later this year, prior to the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series L, which will likely launch in November. So expect Big Navi before that. My guess would be sometime between September, October, November, simply so they can try capitalize a little bit. It won't happen, by the way, on Cyberpunk 2077. Now, given the fact that that's coming out, likely in around that time, Nvidia have their new GPU line ready to go at any second. Now they've been very coy and very cautious about this. They're kind of just waiting for AMD to do their thing, and then Nvidia will just come out and shit all over them, basically. We've all seen the memes where AMD talk about the Big Navi, and then you have Nvidia and they're like, oh, call an ambulance, but not for me. It's because, well, I mean, 38 or 30,000 series for the win. Anyway, these other cards, these RTX 3000 series cards, pretty much guaranteed to launch by the end of the year. In fact, I have a pretty popular video from earlier this year talking why you shouldn't upgrade just yet, because the 3000 series is pretty much any day now. Anyway, back to our point. So, by the time this Big Navi comes out, and is roughly on par with the RTX 2080 Ti, a 2-year-old card at the time. In fact, I believe it's 2 years old this month, or I guess if it's including launch, 2 years old next month. So, 2-year-old card versus what we have from new Nvidia, which, if leak benchmarks again are to be believed, all three of them, it seems that it may only launch with the 3 top-end cards, will destroy the RTX 2080 Ti. So therefore, they would also completely destroy the Big Navi. And not only that as well, not only would they decimate the RTX 2080 Ti as well as the Big Navi 2, that's only on raw performance. Imagine losing all the extra Nvidia specific features by just going to AMD. And you would gain AMD's whopping 0 specific, advanced, if you will, features. This is very deeply troubling and confusing to me, mainly because we've seen it before, over and over again, in both consoles and PC hardware. When one company completely dominates and completely runs away and has no competition, practically no competition anyway, there's a little bit of stagnation, a little bit of, hell, even arguably price abuse. Because if AMD can't come close, then Nvidia can run away with their price. And even potentially, arguably, be a little bit lazy for their next generation release. After all, why try super hard with the 4000 series if you know AMD's Big Navi 3, Big Navi RDNA 3 is going to come up somewhere in your previous 2-year-old cards? What's the point? Anyway, I'm still going to be buying an RTX 3090 Ti or whatever the top end model is, because I only buy the best, and Nvidia can provide that. Highest quality, best frame rates, highest resolution, max settings, ray tracing, RTX baby. And of course, a proper G-Sync module equipped monitor for the win. Next up, we're going to talk a little bit about Xbox, because despite the new next generation Xbox launching a couple of months from now, probably November, more on that in a second, but yeah, despite it launching a couple of months from now, we still don't have not only an official proper price, but we don't even have a release date just yet. So like I said, no official date right now, but we do pretty much figure November to be the usual anyway. But it seems that someone may have accidentally leaked this release date. And this one is The Medium. Now, The Medium, if you have been paying attention, is that multi-platform game, since Xbox Series L has no exclusives, that will be on both PC and on Xbox Series L at the same time. Proper release date. No, well, there is a timed exclusivity deal before bringing it to PS5, but you get the idea. Now, on Steam, originally, when this game, The Medium, went up for pre-order, it had a listed date of holiday 2020, but it also gave the ability to pre-order the game. There was a slight discount for pre-ordering the game as well. I believe it was 10% off. I think the game was €40 by default, and you would get your 10% off, so something in around that mark anyway. But the important thing to note is that The Medium may have leaked the date, because if you know about Steam and how the pre-order bonuses and pre-order discounts and all work, typically games will give you a pre-order bonus or pre-order discount right until either the day of launch or several hours before the day of launch, depending on the time zones and when they have it set and whatnot too. So the interesting thing about The Medium's pre-order discount was that it ended on November 3rd. Now, given the fact that this game is going to be out on Xbox Series L and PC on the same time, on the same day, it should, in theory, mean that this could be the release date. Now, there is also the potential that this could launch a little bit, maybe a week or 2 or 3 prior on PC than it would on Xbox. I somehow don't think that's the case. I think the big thing that they're going for is that it's launch at the time of... The game is going to launch at the time of the launch of the console and on PC at the same time. But the thing that makes this even more suspect, and it lends a little bit of credence that I could be right, is that pre-orders, including the price, discount, and the date the discount ends, have now been pulled from Steam. So the product is still there. People who have pre-ordered still have it. It's still listed as Holiday 2020. But the ability to pre-order the game is no longer there. The ability to see the price is no longer there. The ability to see if there is a discount still applied or when the discount ends is no longer there. And to me, that's evidence enough. So this segment is why I was kind of thankful that this week's one was a little bit lighter on the amount of topics. Because we're going to talk about Halo Infinite. The absolute mess that is Halo Infinite. We're going to talk Halo Infinite. We're going to talk Xbox. We're going to talk Microsoft. We're going to talk 343 Industries. The big focus, of course, is Halo Infinite and 343 Industries. But anyway, before we get into all of that, I want to give you a little bit of an example why this is so important and why I feel like it's important that I mention this and talk about this. I'm a huge Halo fan. Massive Halo fan. It's one of the greatest first-person shooter games and one of the greatest first-person shooter series ever created. To give you an example, I have completed in every single Halo game, co-op and single, Legendary. OG, original Xbox 180, Halo, co-op, solo, it's done. I have it. Still have that file. Halo 2, OG Xbox 180, same deal. That one was infuriating in some ways. Even the PC versions of the original Halo 1 and 2, same deal for that which applies. Same deal. Halo 3 on Xbox 360, same one. ODST, same one. Halo 4, same one. Halo 5, same one. Every remake so far in the Master Chief Collection, including original and remastered Halo Reach, all done Legendary solo and Legendary co-op. That's all important. There's, of course, Halo Wars 2, etc. But, of course, this is Halo in the first-person shooter sense, first-person shooter genre. So that's why we're talking about this. In fact, as everyone knows, I, for the longest time, considered Halo 5 as one of my go-to games, my endless games, if you will. Ones that I could just maybe pick up and play two games of Warzone Firefight, then just go about the rest of my day or go back to playing my other games and all as well. Then the next day, maybe do the same thing again. Next day, do the same thing again. It was just one of those games that I could easily just pick up, turn my brain off for 20, 30 minutes, have some fun, and that was it. Now, in regards to quality, let's talk about perceived quality from Halo games. Halo 1, 2, 3, ODST, and even Halo Reach were all made by Bungie. 343 Industries came in, made Halo 4, Halo 5, and the upcoming Halo Infinite. Not going to go into the big deep dive details on the Master Chief Collection because there's something like 12 or 14 studios involved in doing all different types of stuff. We're talking the base, core games in their original form. They're the important ones there. Now, it's not that Halo 4 is bad. It's not that Halo 5 is completely bad. But if you play the Master Chief Collection, and you play through Halo Reach, Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo 3 ODST, as soon as you finish the Bungie games, and move on to Halo 4, and then maybe go to Halo 5, the difference in quality and style is immediately apparent. And that's not a good thing, because you could say, oh, well, they're differentiating themselves with their look and feel and take on the series. I can understand that. But if it's noticeably worse in practically every way than all the previous games, you have a problem. This is something we'll see with Halo Infinite now in a moment as well. So, 343 Industries. 343 Industries. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go with one other thing as well. To understand stories, let's use Halo 5 as an example. Many people say, oh, because of how the story was done in Halo 5 with the split characters and you have 50% of the game as Master Chief chasing after Cortana, and then you've got the other 50% of the game as Spartan Locke chasing after Master Chief. Now, people would just automatically say that split stories are bad. Split stories are not automatically bad. They're not preferred, but at the same time, they're not automatically bad. You may remember, in fact, the same series with Halo 2 back in the day outraged and angered many, many fans at first with the bait and switch, because there was no talk of the Arbiter whatsoever. And then we all got our hands on Halo 2, and suddenly, why the fuck are we not Master Chief? For half the game? Now, of course, we were all understandably pissed off at first. We were ticked off, peeved off, we were big mad. Whatever way is your preferred way to describe your butthurt feels about it. But after we finished the game and we took some time to reflect on it, we took some time and just it all helped with the quality of the gameplay, the quality of the story, the settings, the lore, the characters, the dialogue, etc. Pretty much everything. We all understood that this was made for the best, or at least close enough to for the best, and it was at an acceptably high quality level that we expected from Bungie and from Halo. Now, there are other times where this also works well with the whole split story side of it. There are also ones where it doesn't work. Halo 5, for example. You can look back at the story, the characters, the lore, everything involved in there, the writing, the dialogue. It just doesn't work. And there's a couple of times where it's absolutely 100% completely shite and diabolical. Last of Us 2. Excuse me, I had something in my throat there. But it can go to show that it is just a failure in that side of it from 343 Industries writing, their ability to tell stories, character, dialogue, compared to Bungie, who just did it right and could manage to pull it off. So this ties in when you factor in the lower quality gameplay, the lower quality stories, if you will, lower quality characters, development, all of that as well. This all is very, very important when you take into consideration what is likely about to happen. So, if you're not familiar with it, 343 Industries, who made Halo 5, obviously included a legendary ending. Legendary endings, of course, if you finish them on the hardest difficulty, which is legendary, it gives you an extra little scene, which might give a extra little bit of lore or character insight, or might even set up the next game or give you an idea of where it's going. Now, in Halo 5's case, if you completed the game on legendary, you got the extra little scene which would show Cortana taking over a Halo ring. At that point, of course, we all know she's gone rampant, so the fact that she's taken over a Halo ring is kind of questionable and kind of scary. Now, while the Halo 5 story in general was pretty shite, Halo 6, or Halo Infinite, based on that legendary ending, can potentially be amazing. But as something I have been saying for 5 years since Halo 5 actually launched, it's a very, very big if that it hinges on 343 Industries not fucking it up. And considering what they've done with the Halo series since they got the hang of it, we're pretty sure it's fucked up. And we've seen Halo Infinite, and we're pretty sure it's fucked up. So all of this combined, it really highlights the absolute sheer incompetence of 343 Industries, the sheer incompetence and lack of talent of their developers, their coders, their leadership, their management, how mismanaged the entire thing is, and of course Microsoft, the divisions of Microsoft who are in charge of all of this. Not to mention there's been all these Glassdoor reviews and all about the studio lately, and they've pretty much just frankly savaged it about how toxic the place is, how incompetent everyone is in there. The management and leadership is just completely all over the place with no clear focus or direction. It just gives an awful, awful principal idea of the place. And you couple that with what we just saw back a few weeks ago in July, when it came to Microsoft's big third-party, well, we call it third-party, multi-platform Xbox showcase, where they showcased their flagship IP. They headlined this much hyped show with their flagship IP leading into the next generation, where they are promoting the world's most powerful console. And we have these absolutely god-awful, terrible visuals that almost look like some of the original Halo games, just at a very, very high resolution. Now, okay, fair enough, that maybe is a bit hyperbole, but not by much. Because people have made comparisons. You can look at this trailer in 4K. You don't just have to use the 1080 60 stream version of this. You can look at the actual trailer, the native 4K 60 FPS trailer. And sure, the higher native resolution does help a little bit. But it clearly shows these problems. That the game looks worse in almost every way. Remember, almost. There are one or two ways in there that are a bit more next gen and advanced. But overall, it looks worse than existing games. People have taken side-by-side screenshots and comparisons with the PC versions of the Master Chief Collection using the enhanced graphics options. And you can clearly see more detail, more refinement. Everything looks better on the PC version of the original stuff. Imagine that. Or the PC version of the current remastered stuff, if you will. Imagine that. Imagine that. This game has crap, last-gen looking visuals. Now, it gets even worse. Of course, there's been massive backlash over this entire thing. Various Microsoft executives, I was going to call them marketing, but I guess it's the same thing. Various Microsoft executives have come out defending this. 343 Industries have come out defending this, but Microsoft ones have been particularly worse. They were saying stuff like, oh, this build they showed off, this is a 1-year-old build, don't worry about it. First off, why would you show off, if this was true, a 1-year-old build for your flagship IP next game in the series, going in and hyping it up as your next gen, world's most powerful console launch title? If that was the case, this person, probably Aaron Greenberg, would need to be fired. Fucking jabroni. Anyway, ever since then, this old build time has decreased again and again. It went from a 1-year-old build to a 6-month-old build, to a 3-month-old build, to a 1-month-old build. And then just a few days ago, 343 Industries put out a new Halo Waypoint update where they said that the build, when we saw it, was about 2 weeks old. So the graphics and visuals and everything you were seeing, and the gameplay, the mechanics and all, were 2 weeks old. How many improvements and how much radical overhaul of that scale and importance can you make in 2 weeks? Answer, spoiler alert, is practically nothing. This game is several months from launch. Here we are at the start of August. September, October, November. We are roughly 3 months from launch. And this is the game they're going to be showing us and saying that expect something basically completely different. It's going to be an absolute fucking disaster. Now, this was shown off during the Xbox Series L showcase, remember? The one that was going to highlight their showcase of the world's most powerful 12 teraflop beast console. Yeah, it was running on a PC. And of course, we all know that development PCs are much better than these consoles because they can just use better hardware than these consoles have. So that's a pretty much yikes. All the stuff like this, the incompetence in every aspect and facet in their history, 343 Industries that is, not Halo in general, because let's face it, Halo Reach, Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3, and even ODST to a degree are fantastic games. But this is all compounded by something new we've been seeing the last day or two. On the Halo Infinite Japanese product page, they listed Battle Royale shooting. Despite Frank O'Connor, a key person in 343 Industries, last year, in 2019, saying that they would not be including any type of Battle Royale in Halo Infinite. They have no plans to ever do it. And the only BR they are interested in is a battle rifle. And now, here we are with the announcement that the game will be multiplayer free-to-play. Of course, what free-to-play actually means on an Xbox console is a whole other story, because they do require Xbox Live Gold. So, that's a whole other thing. And of course, there's a story in there too, but I'm not going to mention that one. But I will just say that the Xbox, or the Halo trailer, did specifically say Xbox Live Gold required on consoles. So, remember, I've made other videos about the whole, is Xbox Live going away? That's the other we've already talked about, and, well, that I'm probably right on, as always, because I'm not a fucking idiot. Anyway, so back to the fact that it's doing the whole free-to-play multiplayer separate. Of course, it will actually be free-to-play multiplayer on PC, where free-to-play means free-to-play. But it's just a joke. It's just an absolute mess. It's just an absolute disaster. I have zero faith in this whatsoever at this point. I have practically no faith in the game. I have practically no faith in 343 Industries. I have practically no faith in Microsoft/Xbox at this point. Who knows? Maybe they will rebuy Bungie and let them work on Halo again and not force them into, well, what every other Xbox game over the last couple of years has been. Trash. Multiplayer heavy, multiplayer focused, microtransaction heavy, practically, arguably, always online, persistent game world, trash. Absolute trash. And it kills me so much that Halo is going this way. But hey, what do I know? I called it in 2027. Maybe 2025 at the earliest. But I'm calling it for 2027. Microsoft are done. Proper, full, 100% third-party multiplats. Hell, they're halfway there already. They're already releasing a bunch of shit on PlayStation and on Nintendo. They've been multiplat with PC for years. No exclusives. 2015. That was the last one. Halo 5. But now that we've taken care of all of that, we can move on to something a little bit better, a little bit mood altering and mood improving. And we're going to talk about the usual. The reason why everyone is here every single week. Q, what's going on? What's up? What's going down? What's the 411? What are you doing? What are you playing? And frankly, this one is a single, simple answer. And no, it's not like the previous one where I basically played nothing. I have played all week Persona 4 Golden. I am 20 plus hours into it at this point, and I still absolutely love it. It's just as amazing, or 99% as much as amazing, as the first time I played it 7 years ago in 2013 on the fucking PS Vita, of all things. P4G is absolutely amazing. It's a fantastic game. I'm going to repeat myself over and over just at this point talking about all of this, because with how amazing and phenomenal the game is, and to be experiencing it all over again and again, you can remember the overall gist and the overall plot points and some of that, but once you realize that you forgot all the small details, the intricacies, and you're getting to redo them over and over, it's just absolutely amazing. I can't wait. And who knows? Persona 5, of course, will obviously eventually be coming to PC. Persona 3 will basically have to come at this point as well. Who knows? Maybe Persona 5 Royal will be the next one. And by the time that comes out, it'll have already been maybe a few years since, what? Persona 3, Persona 5 even, would have been 3 years. That's where I got that one mixed up. But yeah, you get the point. I'm just kind of fanboying over Persona 4 Golden, but maybe this is my true proper introduction and key, if you will, to P5R. Believe it or not, I tried starting it just right before, while I was waiting on my Final Fantasy VII Remake, and then it arrived like 2 days later, so I didn't really get too far in it. But everything is better on PC. Higher frame rate, higher quality, everything, massive resolution. Yeah, boy, that's what I'm talking about. Anyway, that is it. We will leave it here for our 67th episode of our Quack Experimental Podcast. As always, comment section below. You know the drill. Thanks for sticking with me for all of this. As always, slide on in. Comments, questions, thoughts, feelings, opinions, butthurt, praise, whatever it is. It all goes down there. You know the drill. In the meantime, of course, I will see everyone next week, because that is what we do. Consistency is king by us. And remember, I am the king of the kings. So until then, of course, hit the appropriate button to let me know how I did on the video. While you're at it, why not head on over and hit the subscribe button and even ring that little notification bell. Granted, getting a notification from YouTube in current year can be well, that's a whole other story, I guess, but hey, at least you can say you tried, am I right? Naturally, everyone wants to be one of the first people to see these beautiful, high quality, highly produced videos that we upload every single week. But anyway, in the meantime, remember, winners don't play switchboards.